So, welcome to my class, and in this, in the last class, I told you about what we are going to study in Unit 6. That is, we are going to do about producers' behavior and supply. And in that, the first concept that we are going to learn today is production function. So, what is production function? Now, production is the output that you can think about, and the output comes by way of utilizing the factors of production, which together, when we together produce an output. Land, labor, capital, enterprise, these are the factors of production. And when we combine them, we get something which is known as an output. So physical input output relation between inputs and output, physical input output relation, that is known as production function. So the physical inputs, how much do you use it, how much of what you're using, and what the product that your ultimate product, the physical product that you get, is known as a production function. So that's exactly what we're going to do here, and in this we'll be talking about short run and long run. The time period which is set by, say, that's the economic short time period, time frame. That means if you can change all the factors of production, that becomes your long run, and if in the short run only a few factors cannot be changed, so they are fixed. So it's a very interesting concept, and that's what we'll be doing. So here we go, production function. So what is production function? So the relationship between physical inputs and physical output is known as production function. So it studies the functional relationship between physical input and physical output of a commodity. So in a way, it's a technological relation between a firm's production, that is output, and the material factors of production, that is inputs. Usually it is expressed in terms of the equation Qx is equal to F, say L, comma K. Now Qx is a physical output of commodity, that is the output. L is a physical input of labor or units of labor, and K is the physical output of capital or units of capital. So that is what, like for example, this is what it is. So it shows a functional relationship between input output relationship. All right. So it is often defined in respect to a given technology or a given technical know-how. Over time, of course, you know that technical know-how may improve. Accordingly, it may be possible to produce more units of commodity with the same amount of capital and labor, but this is what. So we find that production function is purely a technical relation between which connects factor inputs and output. So having said that, we can talk about, see, there are two relationships here. One is the short run, and which is a long run. So at what rate if you just look at this, like, so here we have factors of production. In the short run, there are certain factors that are fixed and the others are variable, and in the long run, every factor can be changed. So that time frame, that is the time frame we'll be talking about. So here we go, just can have a look in the short period and the long period. Okay. So short run is a period when production can be increased only by increasing the application of variable factors. Now fixed factor by definition remains constant. For example, if a factory is installed of a particular production capacity, it cannot be changed during the short period. because it's too short a period to change it. Thus, production capacity remains constant during the short run because it's indicated by the plant size or the fixed factor. So you can see that on K, like Qx is a function of ln K dash. So what is that? That is K is constant. So one factor we've kept, L is for labor and K is for capital, which is the fixed factor. Now in this type of production function, output can be increased only by increasing the application of labor. So the following equations can illustrate this point further. For example, if you get 50 of x as output, it's a function of say 5 labor and 4 capital. And then you see that there has been an increase in the output by keeping constant 4 capital. 4 capital is constant, but what has increased is 6 labor. So this is why short run production function sometimes is called the variable proportion type production function. That means that you change the variable factor only, and only because of the variable factor there will be a change in the production, the output. Okay, so we can also talk about the long run. So you've seen that. So long run, you see that, for example, we have this, the long run production function. You can have a look at that. So in this we find that say both the factors are variable in the long run production function, and there has been a change in the output by varying both of them. So they are increased in the same proportion. That is the basic idea. So you can see 20 to 40, that is the increase, and you can see that 5 labor and 4 capital, then it is 10 labor and 8 capital. So it is also called sometimes the constant proportion type production function. So it shows the factor ratio which remains constant right from the beginning. That means before we go on, I just want to make a distinction between short run and long run. So short run production function, it is a production function in which factor ratio tends to change with a change in the volume of output. So the factor ratio keeps changing initially in the short run. But in the long run production function, because all can be changed, but we keep the factor ratio, it does not change with a change in the volume of output. And second point we can talk is output is increased by increasing application of one variable factor only, keeping all others fixed. That is very interesting, that you keep all the other factors of production fixed and you change just one to see what changes have been brought about in the output due to the changing one variable input. But here in the long period, output is increased by increasing the application of all the factors of production. So that is what is there. All the factors are changed. Okay. And then the scale of output remains constant no matter what the level of output is. Whereas in the long period, the scale of output tends to change with a change in the level of output. You're changing the entire scale of output. 2, if it is 1:2:3, it goes on, but the entire scale, you're changing the scale every time. So that's the model we study in the long period. And of course, when we talk about short period production function, it is known as returns to a factor, just one factor. What are the returns to a factor? And in the long run period production function, when you're studying that, it is known as returns to scale. Because you're changing the entire scale of the factors of production are changing in the same proportion. And of course, we don't have to do this returns to scale. So in the next class, we're going to do what is known as returns to a factor production, short run production function.